Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I host Jake and Gino Podcast here with my co-host, the multi-family mentor, the coach, chef, the father, six, the best-selling author, the G-Daddy, Gino Barber. Gino, how's it going?
Jake, I'm doing good, but apparently I'm not doing as good as you are, my friend. You are looking smoking in that blue shirt. I mean, I know every color looks good on you, but this one just brings it out of you today, brother.
Man, you know, it's just that's the thing about being me. You can take a simple T-shirt and look this damn good. So it ain't easy, but it's part of life, man. It's part of life. So I'm doing well, Gino. Thank you for asking. I'm always making it happen. We have a very special guest today. Today's guest is the author of One Rental at a Time. I think this dude's got a good philosophy. I'm very excited about this. Okay, very excited. It's the book's a story of working full time, which many can relate to, and building a real estate portfolio. This is what the Jake and Gino community does, folks, and I think we're going to hear some great stories here. He successfully made the leap from W-2, okay, that means he had a job, to financial freedom 5 years ago. And now he's spending his time helping everyday folks like the people listening today. So without further ado, Michael Zuber, welcome to the show.
Guys, thank you for the opportunity. This is a great treat. I've been following you guys for a long time, and to watch you guys operate is a lot of fun, and you guys really like each other, which is pretty cool. So that's pretty awesome.
What's not to like? Come on.
Dude. So I got the NBA Jam arcade game at the condo, right? And it's just something, Gino comes over and takes his ass whooping from time to time. But I just found out there's two additional games. There's like NBA Jam 2 and 3, but they call them something else. And Penny Hardaway in the third one, Gino, and the graphics, they're sick. Okay, they're absolutely sick. So I found that this weekend. I can't wait for you to come down next time you're in
Michael,
town.
Jake is ruthless because you know what? He doesn't go, hey, take the best team, take the team that sucks, and I'm going to get Pippen and who else is on that team? He destroyed
Horace,
me.
baby. No Horace is a beast on defense, just beating your ass.
I had no shot. He's like, yeah, play, get Ewing. Ewing sucks at NBA Jam. I mean, horrible.
We call that the victim mentality, folks. We call that the victim mentality. So enough about, Gino's trials and tribulations. Let's get to know each other a little bit better, Michael. We haven't met before. Tell us a little bit about your transition from the W-2 into full-time real estate investing.
Yeah, so the transition happened in 2018. For me, it was just like a bolt of lightning. I had a sales career. I was a sales guy, enterprise sales guy for the last 20 years. And one thing that happens in my profession is every year you get a new quota, a new territory, and when you're an executive, a new team. I had just closed out another record-breaking year, was looking to go to club, which is an award that the top get. And I walked into a room with my boss and HR, which was talking about the next year. And unfortunately, I was given a team that I didn't want. I was given a quota that was stupid. And I was given a new boss that I couldn't stand. So I never sat down.
That's a nice way to say thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for doing all that work. You're the only guy that could take on this turd of a territory and team. And I said, matter of fact, I told you I didn't want these because I saw it coming. And they didn't believe me. And I quit. I never even sat down. I said, let's work out a separation agreement, which when you're an executive, that's something that happens. Basically says, give me a pile of money. I'll say nice things, you say nice things, and we part ways. And I walked back to my desk. I text my wife that I'm coming home. I quit and pick up a couple of family photos. She doesn't believe me. Sure enough, I go home. And I don't know when it happened for you, but I was ecstatic. I mean, I smiled so much, guys, my face hurt. I mean, I don't know if you know that when you smile that long, your face can hurt. I had that happen. But then it got ugly, and it got ugly quick. I was a 45-year-old that had nothing planned. I walked into this new phase of life, not needing money, but having no mission, no passion. And I was very quickly getting depressed. Can you imagine being 45, not having to worry about money, and you're freaking depressed every day? How sucky is that? And I almost got a job. Dude, I almost got a job. And the reason I didn't is I decided to write the book that you reference, One Rental at a Time, which is nothing more than a story of, hey, this guy lost a bunch of money in the stock market, found Rich Dad, Poor Dad. What happened? It's not a how-to book. It's just a look at our lives. But that led to other things. So I generally don't recommend people quit on a moment's notice because you have to have a plan. You have to have something to do. But yeah, that's my transition.
How do you recommend people quitting?
Well, generally, I would recommend at least a year in advance knowing it's coming so you can plan for something like, what are you going to do? Like, I was 45 years old, type A personality, have to be mission driven. My ego was wrapped up in my career. I was the best at what I did. And suddenly none of that was there. And oh, by the way, my body clock still gets up at 5:30 in the morning. I haven't had an alarm for 20 years.
You're lucky you didn't die.
Yeah, I got depressed, dude.
No, not from the depression, but I feel like when people quit working, they die. And so it's good that you're still here with us, Michael. I'm happy that you didn't die.
I appreciate that. That's very kind of you, Jake. You're a good dude. You look really good in turquoise.
You can play NBA jams with him, then you'll see how good of a guy he really is. I'm just saying, stay away from him, okay? Michael, you're 45 years old. You're depressed. You're saying to yourself, "I've got this money. I left the job. I don't." What does the wife think about all this? Does she think you're nuts? I mean, does she support your decision?
Well, again, our story is our story. She actually had retired about 3 or 4 years earlier, and she had found her routine. She likes to volunteer. She likes to paint. She likes to meditate. So she had kind of walked into that path gracefully, and she didn't get it. She didn't understand that her husband, who was very much mission driven and commission, right? I had every 90 days I could lose my job if I didn't deliver. And suddenly that was ripped away. So she saw me getting depressed. I mean, one of the things we did is she's like, "Hey, let's get you out of here." We took a month off in Taiwan, which is where she was from. She thought a change of location, being around new things would be a fix. That was an elixir for a moment, but it wasn't a long-term fix.
Yeah.
But so she saw it. She didn't really know how to deal with it, frankly.
So you got two ends of the spectrum here, okay? Gino's going to say, "Michael, we got to look inward. We got to look at your past. We got to break some things down. We got to talk about your feelings." And then you have me over here saying, "Dude, you got money. You're in America. Shut the F up. Figure it out. You're a dude. Your job is to produce." So those are two ends of the spectrum. And now you can kind of fill in the blank which way you went. So I'm telling you which way I would have went and then which way Gino would have went. And neither is right, okay? There's different different strokes for different folks. So I just want to kind of figure out how the path went. Yeah.
I love the left and right in the dichotomy. So the answer is really both of them. Again, when you jump out of an airplane and you weren't planning for it, you don't have a parachute on.
Yeah.
So go get a parachute.
Okay.
You got to
call Uber real quick.
You've got to figure it out. So that's what I did. So in the meantime, I was people were trying to recruit me. I had done things in my career that very few people did. So I was being recruited. So I was sitting at my kitchen table Saturday morning going, if I don't figure this out, I'm going to get a job, and to your point, produce. So I'm, not depressed and suicidal. That was the moment I decided, you know what? Nobody has written a book about, hey, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Then what? And oh, by the way, one of the things that's wrong with me is I do the work and I keep marching forward. I never look back. I don't enjoy smelling the roses. I've never looked back. So I decided that I was going to write a book. I was going to, tell my story. And that was going to be my mission. And I did 2 hours a day for about a month or 6 weeks. The book was done. And I felt good. And then that was the unlock to tell me there was all these other things I could do. So now I spend about 2 hours a week, 5 days a week, helping people. And then I go home, have a great lunch, go work out, do whatever I want in life. So it's really funny that the answer was really much what you said, Jake. Figure it out.
You had a purpose gap.
Yeah, I did. I jumped out and I had nothing there holding me. And I just had to find that next thing. So once I did, I went all in.
How did you figure out it was real estate, though? And walk us through that first deal. I mean, it's a sales.
I think he was already in real estate at the time, Gino. I think that's why he was financially free. Is that right?
Yeah. So when I retired at 45, it was all because of real estate. We had our portfolio of nearly 200 units, and I could have done anything. So yeah, money wasn't a problem at 45. It was because of rentals.
And how did you get into the real estate? How old were you when you bought your first rental?
30 or 31. So I'm Generation X. I'm over 50. I turned $7,000 into $200,000 in the .com madness. And then I lost almost all of it in like a week and a half or 2 weeks. And I went from being high on the hog to depressed again. And I stumbled across Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which, you know how embarrassing this is? That's not a how-to book. It's not even a particularly well-written book.
It's not.
But
it's an awareness book, right?
Yeah. It's like, hey, stupid, look over here. Because I grew up in a family of employees. I was told to go get a good job, make a lot of money, and buy nice things, right? That was a mantra in my family.
Dude, don't even take it that far. It's not, hey, it's stupid. You're literally brought through a system that churns out W-2s. And so you churned out as what the system is intended to produce you as, right?
Yeah.
It took a little bit of curiosity to sniff around a little bit to see that there's other paths. It's not your fault. You're a product of the system.
It takes it one step further. That information 30 or 40 years ago was actually okay to follow. It was actually a way to create wealth as a middle class person. You can go out and get a great job. An employer is going to keep you for the next 30 or 40 years. When the rules were changed, we're still following that information, and he comes around and goes, time out. That's not the information you should be following. Here's some other advice. By the way, an asset and a liability, and we're printing trillions of dollars in debt. So all of a sudden, these things start hitting you in fractional banking, and you start getting flooded with these messages, and it's like, okay, why? Jake and I wrote the book, Wheelbarrow Profits. We're going to teach you how. But if you don't understand the why, the how really doesn't make any difference. You need to understand the why. And I truly agree with you. The book was written okay. It was a good book, but it had such a profound impact on, think myself, Jake, and thousands of people in our community as well, Michael.
Yeah. And again, it's really funny because I have an econ degree. I have an MBA. I was an accountant. So you would have thought it wasn't that great of an unlock, but it was everything. It was everything to me. It brought a new world, and it set me on this whole new path of, my whole start was I just wanted to get 4 single family homes. My whole goal when I started at 30 was if I got 4 single family homes over the course of 4 years, so not even going fast, 1 a year, when I'm 60 or 65, my retirement will have better options than most. That was my genius from that book.
I think it's brilliant.
Yeah. So that was it. And then obviously once you get in and you like it, good stuff can happen.
But let's just stop for a second, because if anybody listening to this goes back 5 years and buys a home from 2019, 20, 21, 22, you've got a lot of equity in those homes. Now you could say, hey, it was luck and all, but why didn't you do it? What's your excuse for not doing it? And it's interesting. Oh, well, real estate's too high now. 5 years from now, rents are going to be up 20%, prices are going to be up. So it doesn't matter when you start. It's always the right time to start. There's different strategies like syndication and creative financing and partnering up. You just need to know when to use those strategies and what part of the market cycle. But I think the fundamentals haven't changed. And I think 1 a year, that's a pretty damn good start. We talked before we hit the record button. Why don't people start? What's stopping people from starting?
I think we could debate this for a long time. I'm sure there's lots of reasons, but at the end of the day, I think why most people don't start is they're afraid or they're just lack confidence in themselves. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think it's one or two of those. I really see them the same color, but you may call it different things. I think there's a lot of people that have analysis paralysis. They have all these other things. They're scared for some reason. I think it's really information
it's commitment
overload.
Too, guys. Right. It's a big, it's like, it's borderline marriage into something. It's hard to get out of quickly. Right.
Oh, which I think is a good thing, but yes, correct.
I 100% agree. I think that some of the best deals that, are ones that we had a little bit of trouble and maybe got a little uneasy for a time. Then we worked out our problems. It taught us to be problem solvers versus running away from our problems. And now the deals have really accelerated nicely. So I look, those are learning experiences, and you have to embrace the suck at times because you're going to come out a lot stronger at the other end of it. I'd like to hear about the management of these. So you have a couple hundred homes, apartments, you have a portfolio. What's the management look like? Because, obviously if you were managing these, you'd have plenty on your plate. So I'm guessing you use third party. Is that right?
Yeah, we use third party. I had a career where I was traveling all over the world. So we had a property manager since day one. Since we bought Norris Drive, which was just a single family home in our first purchase, we had a property manager. And we still have property managers today. There was a time our portfolio was a size, we split it in half, gave it to do 2 different PMs. Then that other PM, didn't do his job. So we went back. So we're down to 1 today. But yeah, nearly 200 units. We probably spend somewhere between 2 and 4 hours a month on the portfolio. It is very passive. We still grow, but very slowly. We're adding one or two a year just because once you're
I
in
was
the game.
curious about that. It sounded like you were slowing down a little bit there. Yeah.
Oh, definitely slowing down. We buy because we can. We're not working as hard, right? We're not trying to grow at all cost. We got
Apartments or houses? What are you targeting these days?
Today is single families. I think single families, if you can find them right, typically distressed, you can add value. My great unlock is actually what I did in the book. I had 8 houses in 2005 or 2006. And we went to an event by Bruce Norris, who said the California crash was coming. And we did some research. We agreed with them. We sold our houses in 1031 into 80 units. So we went from 8 houses to 80 units. The reason I bring that up is I own a hell of a lot more houses today. And I plan to exchange out of houses probably 2025, maybe 2026, when the stuff really hits the fan in commercial, because at least in my market, a lot of bad operators, a lot of syndicators came in with bad deals, bridge debt, IO. They're in huge amount of pain. And I'm just going to 1031 into situations and hold as rent recovers and grows again. So we're going to probably have an explosion in growth probably 12 to 24 months from now, but we're still adding singles as they make sense.
Yeah, I think your point on the market cycle, Gino, was spot on. And I was going back through looking at our acquisitions over the last few years, and we were doing these 20, 30, 40 unit deals in 2022 because they made sense.
Deals. Oh, beautiful deals.
But they were these little deals, compared to what we did last year when we did 3 deals of 100 plus last year.
Wow, nice.
And so, and now this year we bought a 4-plex. Okay, because it was right next door to another one, 12 unit that we owned, and then we did. We're under contract for a 60 unit right now. So it's all a function of the market cycle and the tools in your tool belt, and that's the thing I think where people miss. And they're saying, "Oh, debt is high right now. I shouldn't be buying." And in 2022, I'm saying like to myself, I'm not overpaying for these highly competitive assets. So we scaled down and did bolt-on units to our larger complexes, right? So I think, folks, if you're nervous about this space, you have to see the path right now. I'll give you an example. One in the city that where we invest in, they're overbuilding the crap out of downtown and student deals, right? So recently we've actually acquired one of those student deals and we converted it to market rate because it's actually in the city but not super close to downtown. So you have to take what the defense is giving you, and whether it's seller financing or whether it's syndication, whatever's going on in that part of the market, you don't stop or you don't wait to get in. You get in if this is going to be your future retirement, and you figure out how to buy in the different parts of the cycle utilizing different tools. And I just wanted to really hammer that point, Gino, because you went fast on that, and I think that is such a golden nugget. So,
yeah, that's the beauty of real estate investing. Is I've been doing this for 25 years now, and I'm not done learning. Right, creative financing, syndication. There's always more tools to add to your tool belt. And the other thing is, don't fight the market. The market's going to give you what makes sense. So take it. And we were single family only. Then we were large multifamily only. Then we went back to singles. Then we went back to multifamily. I'll buy whatever the best deal is. If it's a 4-plex, so be it. If it's 20 units, so be it. I'm not picky.
Dude, I'm with you, man. If it cash flows, bring it my way, baby. That's what I'm saying.
Michael, I'm going to dub you the small giants of the apartment space / single family home space. We had spoken before we hit record that people are just have this fantasy of wanting to scale up and go as big as possible. Can we talk about the merits of doing that, which is great, but also the merits of what you and me and Jake are doing as well, where we're being selective. We don't care about the size. We just care about the quality.
One of the greatest mantras that is going to hurt the most people, I think, over the next 24 to 36 months is the mantra that bigger is better. That sounds cool, unit count sexy.
It can be better.
That's the point.
Yeah.
It might
depends,
be.
Right?
It can be.
It depends.
Accountant.
It depends
Right.
the accountant term of the year. It depends.
Yeah, it depends. So that's the message that should have been given. But of course, the person delivering it has a vehicle that he's trying to raise funds and blah, 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 blah. But bigger is not always better. It just is not. If you're being forced to overpay for an asset, which you and I both know lots of people did, they took, like in my market, for example, I sold an apartment building. I've been in my market for 20 years. C-class buildings typically trade between 7.5 to 8.5 cap.
He sold it for a 4 cap, Gino.
They got to a 5, which I sold, and then it got as low as 4.5.
Yep.
That stuff's going to blow up.
Well, if you pay cash, you might be okay.
Yeah, but
They didn't pay cash. They didn't pay cash. They got 2-year bridge debt with a 1-year add-on.
80% loan to cost floater, and that's going to get
Toast.
flushed.
Toast. And I'll be around with my little single family, maybe 2 single families. I'll sell them at the peak of the market because I own stuff that's not going down. I'll 1031. My LTV will be 50%, and I'll just hold for the next 5 years as rents come back. So again, know the system, know what's working. Bigger is better. It's just not true. It's sometimes, maybe frequently, but not always.
From a scale perspective and a management perspective, it helps as long as the numbers make sense, right? Of course. That's where it's great. But you can't extend yourself and over leverage for that, or just because you get caught up in the euphoria that everyone else is.
Here's the deal. Here's the deal. I've been doing this for 20 some years. I've been helping people for 15 plus. I still speak at real estate meetups. I'm the one rental at a time guy. Hey, come speak at my meetup, blah, 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 which I still do. But the reason I go, guys, is I want to know what the audience is doing. So I go to a meetup in San Jose, California, tech capital of the world, right? Everybody's got stock money, in about 2019. So I've been retired a year and a half or whatever. And I give my shtick. People are not impressed, right? One rental at a time, blah, slow, loser, blah, blah, blah. That's the attitude I'm getting. Seriously, no joke. And I find out that everybody in the room.
Did you get any boos? Were they booing you?
No,
Were they throwing shit at you? No, okay.
No, I get nasty if you want to boo me. I got a dark side too. I got a little Jake in me also. But the deal was half the room were brand new syndicators.
Oh, they didn't want to hear your shit. Yeah.
No, they didn't. They wanted to raise money. They wanted to go buy some Midwest thing that they've never seen. They've never owned anything. They've never been an operator. They're playing with spreadsheets, and they got a bunch of friends with stock money. I'm like, oh, dude, this is not going to end well. Sure enough.
The VA underwriter. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
we have a nice saying at Jake and Gino that we learned from one of our coaches: revenue is vanity, profit margin is sanity, and cash is king. And I don't know, this may be a little risky to ask Jake, but Jake, what is our favorite metric that we like to track every month that rarely any Mr. Frank Gallinelli didn't have this key metric on his mind?
It starts outdoors, Gino, and if it don't cash flow, let the grass grow. So our favorite metric is PPU, which is profit per unit. That's what we track. Okay?
I like it.
We look at cash on cash return. We look at debt service coverage ratio because it's going to depend what our financing is. Okay, that's what's really important to us. We're buy and hold long-term investors. Okay, and those metrics are going to basically result in PPU every month. So
I like it. Profit per unit. I'm down.
Well, Michael, what you'd said about your transition and your investment philosophy is you are actually building a business. You're in the business of real estate. You're not just investing in real estate. And I think that's the epiphany that Jake and I had several years back. We're not just buying these buildings. We're buying future streams of revenue. We're able to buy them, maybe refinance the capital out. We're able to sell them if they become functionally obsolescent or they don't fit our criteria. We sold the 400 to 500 units that we had in Kentucky. We just didn't like the market anymore. So we're looking at it from a business perspective, and not only from an emotional perspective or a scale perspective, but we're looking to see if these assets align with what we call our buy right criteria. We're looking at those assets saying, do they check the box? And if we're going to buy these things long term, are we going to get into a 1950s asset with clay plumbing and median income of $30,000? Probably not. So looking at that and becoming what we call a multifamily entrepreneur is really important when you look at investing and looking at real estate from not just becoming a landlord, which is what most of us do when we start out. We're going to buy these buildings and we're going to do the paint and we're going to look at it you need to look at spreadsheets. You need to look at from that perspective, but that's not the only thing you should be looking at. What are you buying? What is your buy right criteria? What are you attracted to in a deal?
So for me, I treat each asset individually at the point of purchase, and it's really what I call yield. You can call it cash on cash, return on capital. You guys know this, but for the audience, it's really a simple metric. It's how much cash comes out of my bank account, down payment, closing costs, make ready. And the numerator is expected yearly cash flow. And what I teach or talk about is you have to know average. Every asset, every market has an average. I have no interest in doing an average deal. I only want to do great deals. So for example, let's say you do your work, you have a buy box, buying criteria, and the average for that market at that time is 6%. I have no interest in 6%. I'm going to want to do something at 8 or 9. So again, I don't have to do every deal. In fact, I don't want to do every deal. I only want to do the best of the best deals. I'm willing to write disrespectful offers. I'm willing to follow up. I'm willing to chase stuff down. I'm willing to write a cash price and a seller financing price. Because again, once you have all of these tools, you can really manufacture cash on cash if you know which levers to pull. So I'm always chasing the best yield. If it's a 512-foot single family home, I'll buy it. If it's a 20-unit building, I'll buy it. And I use those examples because I own both of those.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Before we go to the short answers, if anyone's looking to get into real estate or get into multifamily, go out and buy Michael's book, One Rental at a Time. What other advice would you give to them to say, you know what, now's the time to start? These are some of the things that you should be doing today to plan your entry into the business.
Well, you brought up interest rates earlier, and I don't know if people will believe this, but it is true. I wish interest rates were 10%. I wish cost of capital was 10% for everybody. Why? Well, because I would be able to find the people that have to sell, right? They need to sell. They don't want to sell. I've been doing this a long time, and the best deals I have done were from people who had don't wanters. I don't want this for some reason. And I don't really care what the cost of capital is. As long as it's the same for everybody, I have every confidence that I can write the deal, do the creative financing, whatever it is, to move forward. So do yourself a favor. Don't look at rates today and go, they're high, and don't do anything. Second, at least in the residential space, it is finally slowing down, right? For a couple of years, we were dealing with record low inventory of 250, 300, 350,000 available units. You're not going to find a motivated seller when there's nothing for sale. Everything's going to go. Mm-hmm. But we're finally seeing it grow. We saw active inventory grow 16,000 last week, 13,000 the week before. So the housing market's slowing down, which is a good thing if you're an investor, right? You want it to go slower. So days on market tick up. So inventory ticks up. So you can write disrespectful offers. You can find the motivated sellers. So the market today is finally slowing down. That's a good thing. Stop being scared.
So how much did it cost for you to join the Illuminati? Because clearly you just wrote the playbook for 08.
You think so? You think that's the 08 playbook?
Dude, look, you want everyone to blow up so you can go in and get them for cheap, man. That's what I'm hearing, right? Blow everybody out of the water with 10% rates.
You see what I'm saying?
Blow everybody out of the water.
Do you see what I got to deal with?
He's like, let's crank the rates up to 10%. So for the fools that can't hang on, and I'll swoop in and pick it up. Right? I'm busting your chops, obviously.
No, I love that, dude. I love this, Jake. You're my boy. But yeah, let's talk about it. So let's talk about rates going to 10%. So if you own a home today and you are employed, does that affect you at all?
If you're fixed, no.
No, okay. 30-year fixed, 98% of loans. We can generally
it's the floaters that are going to get creamed, right?
Oh, no. Yeah. So again, residential, which is not what I said, fine. Transactions down, resi fine. Commercial, woo. Floaters, woo. Painful. Yeah. Painful.
It already is.
And do we go to 10%? It's a nightmare. We have commercial banking crisis at 10%. So I'm not calling for that. But you're absolutely right.
I'm just being a smartass too. Like I wasn't really trying to lump you in that crowd. So
I totally, because I've actually had this conversation with Ken McElroy. I'm like, dude, we repeated the same nonsense in commercial that we did in residential in 06. In 06, 51% of the mortgages were variable. Most of those short term, with about 12% being that Nag M garbage that's now illegal. We did the same nonsense in commercial with just more zeros. Mm-hmm. It's remarkable that we
does Arbor make it out of this alive?
No way. No, without a big capital infusion.
They were the leader here. So.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh,
yeah. All right, guys, let's take a quick time out here from our sponsor.
Now, we have had a great run in multifamily, going from 0 units to over $250 million in assets. That's over 2,000 apartment deals that we've been able to purchase through our framework: buy right, manage right, and finance right.
Now, Jake and I, we created the Jake and Gino community back in 2015. We launched our first book, Build Our Profits. And since then, our students have closed over 60,000 units. That's over $4 billion in assets they've been able to close over the last 6 years.
And that's why this community has been so successful. We call it results-based education, and we pour back into the community everything that we've learned on our journey from 0 to 2,000 units, and all our systems and scale that we use on our very own property management and investing companies.
Jake, I love that. It's not just education, it's implementation. So what I want you to do, click on that link down below, apply to work with our team, see how we can help you on your journey in multifamily.
All right, we are back now. As a grandmaster of the Illuminati, I'm just wondering, like, how much can you bench press? Do they care about fitness in your crowd?
Not at all. Not at all. They just care about, how tall I am when I stand on my wallet. That's all they care about.
That's it. That's the only way to get in the club, Gino. So you heard it here first. Fair enough. All seriousness. Anything that you've picked up in the last year or so that has added value to your life, whether a book or a podcast or anything that you want to share with the folks?
So Ken McElroy, I mentioned him earlier, I think is coming around. I think there was a couple of years ago where he was talking about real estate crash and all of those things. He was playing out of his depths. He was talking residential, where his experience.
That was just clickbait to get viewers.
Well, I think he was talking residential. And he's not a resi guy. When was the last time Ken bought a home? I mean, seriously, guys, decades. But now he's talking a lot about how to take advantage of what's coming up. I like to pick on Grant Cardone. He's the bigger is better guy. He called a shot like 3 months ago. Like, he's going to buy Class A stuff for cash. Now, if you can do that, unlimited holding period, right? You're not going to be caught up in this nonsense. And the last thing is, I do think the greatest real estate opportunities of my lifetime, and I'm a guy who took advantage of the '08 nonsense, is in front of me. I think the opportunities that are coming for me, because I don't play where you guys are, I'm going to play in the 5 to 40 units. That's where I'm comfortable. It's all our capital. We don't syndicate or anything. I think the greatest opportunities are ahead of me in the next 2 years. So I think the greatest opportunity.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Expand on your investing advice for the next 2 to 3 years.
So my opinion, and I call the shot. So again, I mentioned it earlier. I've been collecting residential for the last 5 years because I'm going to repeat what I did last time. I think there's a bunch of distress coming to the small, because again, we know about Arbor, we know about the Houston properties, we know about all this stuff blowing up that are hundreds and thousands of units. But that same nonsense happened in the 5 to 40 units. And oh, by the way, they're so small, they're not going to get bailed out. They're just going to be flushed. And I've been creating relationships with community banks, with credit unions, with asset managers to buy direct. And I'm going to have to come in with a bunch of quote unquote cash. It won't be cash for me because it'll be equity. I'll 1031 out of a house, take all the equity, throw it into the next thing. My LTV will be sub 50%. I'll get a 5, 7, or 10 year lock. It's going to be beautiful. To your point, I'm going to take as much advantage of the '08 nonsense on repeat with bigger assets. It's coming.
So interesting. You're using third party, right? If a 100-unit deal came your way, are you limiting yourself?
So the only thing I'm limiting myself on is it has to be our capital. We are not in the game. We don't want to be. Our life's already good enough. I don't want to have a stress of phone calls from investors. That's just a personal choice. But yeah, if we could take it down, like if I could sell 5 houses in 1031 into that, sure, absolutely.
It just depends on the deal. And are you limiting yourself to California?
I'm limiting myself where I have a team. Yes, correct.
Gotcha.
That's great.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Give us one fun and exciting thing that's going on in your life right now that you want to share with the folks.
One of the things that I did fun last week is we bought a second home. We bought a 7-figure second home in Las Vegas. We just put in a sick backyard that just finished up this week. So we're about to head out to Vegas and enjoy our fruits of our labor. So that was fun to finally do, go splurge on ourselves.
So what's the purpose behind this purchase?
Well, Olivia and I love to have good food. We live in the Silicon Valley. I've been here 50 years. The Silicon Valley's food scene used to be top notch. It is no longer. The pandemic crushed our favorite restaurants. Everybody left. So we had to find a new place. Vegas, we spent a month there, never had a bad meal. So yeah, that's my vice, is going out to eat. We do it at least once a day, and it doesn't hurt tax advantage, right?
That's the ringer right there. This is the future. I started sniffing around, Gino. I knew this was coming. So we're going from getting clubbed over the head to, well, Nevada's kind of nice with no state income
it's kind of
tax.
nice. Yeah, it's pretty nice.
You don't want Jake sniffing, Mike. You do not want Jake sniffing. That's all I'm saying.
I was like, ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, it doesn't suck. It doesn't
What
suck.
and what is the full transition come to the majority of the time spent in Vegas versus California?
It'll be nine. Well, it'll probably be 9 months in Vegas, a month traveling the world, and 2 months in Cali.
That, my friend, is what we call an economic deserter. So,
There you go.
thank you, Gavin. All right,
Yeah, King Gavin. Yeah.
all right. Best way for folks to get a hold of you.
I've done very few things right in life, but one of them is one rental at a time. Everything I do is one rental at a time. Books, YouTube, Instagram. Shouldn't be hard to find.
All right, Gino. From Cali to Vegas, we got the truth out of him. What say you?
I'm going to wrap this up by just sharing Michael's story. And he starts out his story when he's in his office with his boss, and his boss is just laying the land out and just giving him this crappy opportunity and saying, "Hey, Michael, you're great. You are set for this, brother." And Michael's like, "I don't think so. I
Sounds
quit."
like The Office.
Yeah, exactly.
He goes home, he's smiling. His face is hurting. And Olivia's like, "Michael, what'd you do?" "I'm doing my yoga here. I'm meditating. I'm hanging out. And you're blowing your life up. Do you have a plan?" He's like, "I don't got a plan. I guess I'll just figure it out. One rental at a time." Sit down. A few months later, I got my book. People think I'm nuts. I'm surrounded by these guys in Silicon Valley. They're raising millions of dollars. And I'm here talking about one rental at a time. But guess what? I got the last laugh because I'm still buying one rental at a time while all you guys bought bridge debt. And you're saying, "I didn't know what I did. I should have listened to Michael. But I'm an Instagram person. I want to be sexy and I want to drive around in a Lambo." Sometimes, simpleness, I think the simplicity in life and in the business plan is a lot easier to accomplish. And I'm going to end it by saying, once again, revenue is vanity, profit margin is sanity, and cash is king. Only do really good deals, and you don't have to do 20 or 30 a year. If you do 1 or 2, even 3 deals that are really excellent, that fit your criteria, that's all you need to do to become the next Michael Zuber. Thanks, Michael.
You got it, Gino. Thanks, Jake.
As Gino says, no deal is better than a bad deal. And as always, we believe in buying deals for the long term. Think in decades. I'm Jake. He's the G Daddy. We make it happen. We'll see you next time.